Hello and welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Alicia Whitaker, executive coach, life coach. What else am I going to call you?
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good,
That's
right?
good.
That's pretty good. Okay, thanks for being on the show, Alicia. I read about you, and you're pretty successful, so the articles say, at teaching older unemployed or older underemployed folks how to use the network to their advantage.
Well, networking is the critical skill for getting repotted, for getting a new job.
For getting what?
A new job,
What do you think?
a new venture, or repotted.
What does that mean, repotted?
Well, from one job or activity into something.
Is that P-O-T-T-E-D? Like potting?
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Exactly.
That's what I wasn't sure. Okay.
Think about a plant that was thriving that needs to move.
Okay, for getting repotted. That's a very good. And the number one skill is networking.
It really is networking.
That's better than calling up somebody you know and saying, "Hey, could you recommend me for a job?"
That's part of networking.
That's part of the networking.
Yeah.
Okay, good answer.
Many of us who are baby boomers got our prior jobs.
Okay. I'm sorry, the baby boomers are what age group now? We just finished with Generation X.
Oh, typically, I think early 50s and above.
Okay, go ahead.
Above.
Yeah.
Actually, 45 and above. 45 and above.
Okay.
But we're a huge group of people. Many of us would normally be retiring now and are not retiring because we lost our nest egg got drastically smaller in the meltdown.
Sure.
So there are people who need to work, who want to work.
I never thought they'd have to work at this stage of their life.
Absolutely. But the old scenario of I'm retiring at age 55, I'm going to play golf for the rest of my life, that's gone.
Well, the other thing is, Alicia, right?
Yes,
okay.
good.
The other thing is people are living longer, too.
People are living longer, and with all the health advances we have, people want to be active, people want to add value, people don't want to be bored. And, I mean, think about the people you know in your own friendship network who started out with a retirement plan or, were off for the first year, then said, I'm going out of my mind, I want to do something. So the something can be a job, it can be a set of activities, some of which generate revenue.
These are also the kind of folks, though, that tend to be the most naive about the use of computer and internet, the least educated in those skills. So how do you get the, I think I read an article where you say you teach dinosaurs to dance. How do you make that transition? What's the first thing you teach folks?
Well, if people have been working up to now, unless they're very senior, and there are certainly some CEOs who are like this, they know how to use a computer. They send emails all the time. They have BlackBerries. So they're doing the basics. When it comes to, for example, creating a profile on LinkedIn, and I've helped many people do that, they're initially intimidated. Oh, this looks hard, I can't do it. LinkedIn has made it very easy for people to have a presence on the site. And they almost hold your hand. LinkedIn,
yeah.
Very key resource for job hunters.
Well, let me ask you something. Do human resource people really use LinkedIn to get candidates for their
absolutely.
Openings?
Not only human resources people, but executive search people.
Really?
Executive search people used to have research departments, fairly big ones, and their main activity, in addition to searching on print medium and looking at the web, was essentially calling contacts and saying, who can you recommend for this job? Now, that still plays a part, but people always start now by doing a Google search on your name or going to LinkedIn. And I had a recruiter tell me yesterday that if someone's not on LinkedIn, he sees it as an issue of they're not with it.
But you don't have to be unemployed to be on LinkedIn.
Oh, not at all. No.
As a matter of fact, I think most folks that are on LinkedIn are employed.
Most people are employed, and they're using it for a variety of reasons. In some cases, they're just using it to stay in touch with their networks. They're not job hunting. But when they need to job hunt, they already have a network in place, a network of people that they've connected with, and they have a story to tell about themselves. They have an updated resume and summary and a presence. And whether or not you declare that you want a job hunt, you can still appear
on LinkedIn.
In search results on LinkedIn. I, for example, have a business now. I'm interested in new business contacts, not jobs, but I will appear in search results on LinkedIn. There's something that tells you, 6 people the last 3 days have looked at you. Exactly. So it's really become a must, and it's a key tool because those search firms have laid off people. They can't afford to have those big research departments anymore. And human resources recruiters within companies also use this.
So are those folks, so the folks that are looking or not looking, that you tell them, stay in touch, stay in contact, they put this on LinkedIn, and then what else do they do?
Well, they literally reach out to people.
Do they send emails? Give me some tips
There are
here.
many ways they can stay in touch. And all of us stay in touch in some way with our closest friendship circle, friends and family. We're in touch with them.
Right.
But you might need to be in touch with people who could be professionally useful to you, who share an interest with you, and there, you can't spend all your time doing it.
How do you keep those contacts alive? Because you don't want to just call up somebody that you used to work with now that you're unemployed or looking. You want to sort of keep it going so that there's an interest level, not that you're calling out of desperation, right?
Yeah, it's not great to do it only when you need it. So you need to do it before you need it.
So how do you do that? Just emailing?
Well, a variety of ways. There are some people you might want to arrange to see. You might go to Chicago next week, and there are 3 people in Chicago who you know, one of which you've been out of touch with for 2 years. Call that person. Use the tools that are comfortable for you, but be thinking about who haven't I talked to recently, who might be doing something interesting. Now, again, one of the great things about LinkedIn is that you get status updates from your contacts. And if someone has changed their profile because they've switched jobs.
So just by looking at this website, you might find someone that you can recontact with.
Absolutely. And LinkedIn will send you a summary once a week, for example, and you can see who's changed their status, meaning they're either out of a job or in a new job. Who has some new fact about themselves. So you can see who you want to be in touch with.
So that's one really good tip, and along with staying in touch, what else? I mean, people have been looking, are getting they're getting depressed. They're worried about ever finding something. What do you tell those folks?
I tell those people to get back in the game in a way that may not be a job, but that's a way of being back in the game. Take on a consulting assignment, be a contractor. Depending on what your skills are and how senior you are, you might be able to be a resource in what's called an expert network. There are companies developing that essentially can hire you by the hour because a venture capitalist wants to learn about your industry. I have a lot of friends who've joined these networks, and they do...
What's it called?
Expert networks.
Expert networks?
Yes. There's an example of a company is Gerson.
Do you go online and put in expert networks?
You can do that, yes, and you'll get a list of companies. And you can contact them, see what their criteria are about. And depending on what your industry is and what your functional knowledge is, you may or may not be in demand.
Right.
But I know people who've been in the market who have joined some of these networks, and suddenly they're visible again. And the network will set up a phone call or a lunch or a breakfast with a group of people. Right. So it's a way of, and then you can tell your network, I'm consulting on X topic. I recently... Right.
Even if there's not a lot of revenue involved, I mean, it does, like you say, gets you into the game. You have to get dressed. You have to talk to people.
Absolutely.
You have to feel like a human being.
The other thing is that this is as difficult as it is. This is a time to learn something new, and I know most people who are working full time pretty much keep their heads down to do their job.
Sure.
Huge demands, reduced staff, everybody works harder.
Everybody works harder, then they have their own homes to maintain.
Absolutely. So, you might think about, when was the last time I actually, went somewhere to learn something, or, took on a new skill, or started writing, if writing is a passion. You can start doing some of those things, and those in itself will lead you to new people, especially keeping your skills current. Now, we started out talking about the fact that some of the people who are jobless are older.
Yeah.
And it's very important for older people who want to keep working to appear and to be with it.
How do they do that?
Well, they
color their hair or something. How do they do that?
Well, I mean, looking awake and alive cosmetically is important.
It's important, right?
You've got to present yourself
well. You have to walk and talk and stand like you're proud of yourself.
And with energy, and passion for what you're talking about. But the other thing that I think that employers and recruiters look for is, are you learning new things? Or are you fixed in how you did things in 1975? I've heard some of my peers say, I've been very successful using this technique. Why should I change? Well, you have to learn about technology and how it's impacting your field. You have to look at how you can do things differently.
Yeah.
And what many companies are looking for are people who can help them change things.
Right.
Everybody's talking about, I need a new business model, or I need to downsize and streamline. So you need people with you who can be innovative, who can bring about some new ways of doing things, and who themselves can get with the program.
Right. But I also think that one thing that has been maybe a positive, if you can say a positive about what we've been going through in this, the last few years of this economic downturn, is that there is some newfound respect for wisdom and experience and some of the values that have gotten tossed aside in the hurly-burly of when everything was going up.
I absolutely agree with you. People also are looking for people who can be mentors to others.
Right.
And many older workers can do that. They're not going to be about pushing someone else off their perch. They're going to be helping people around them. There are many attractive qualities.
And so for some, there is. I think there is. There's a real newfound respect for the wisdom of having lived life and being able to speak to people, or write letters. Or interview, or teach. Customer service, whatever you want to say, with the background that comes from having lived.
Absolutely, and but it's a balance issue. You can show up with your wisdom and proven ways of doing things, but you also have to have that willingness to learn new things,
right?
And to be part of creating something new. So both things are important, and there are a lot of people, younger people in the workforce who are having huge challenges around managing their family as well as their jobs.
Yeah.
In most households, 2 people are working.
Exactly. And the kids are being ferried back and forth or something.
Absolutely. So having someone in a team.
Something, Alicia, I just read something. It's kind of a shame. Not kind of, I said it is a shame. I just read about a woman who 4 children she takes for daycare back and forth. She's a waitress. And she makes about $20,000 a year. Her husband's unemployed, was laid off, and she makes about $20,000 a year. The caretaker that she has to take the kids back and forth to gets paid by the government $26,000 a year.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe maybe there should be something in this. We shouldn't end on something in this country where people are compensated for staying home and rearing their kids.
Well, I think
wouldn't be such a terrible idea.
I think that's Sweden or Denmark, and I think in this economy we're probably not going to get it.
Right, we're not going to get it. But it's an interesting conundrum.
The good news in the situation you described is that the waitress has someplace to take her kids.
Right. And,
really important.
And the truth of the matter is the kids, the other woman gets employed too.
Absolutely.
But when you said people ferrying back and forth, I got to think, maybe some of these older people who are unemployed could fill in some kind of a gap there.
Oh, I think that happens. I mean, look at all the college-age kids who can't find jobs moving home, number one. Their parents are filling that gap economically, plus giving them the moral support.
I guess the grandparents are raising kids.
And a lot of grandparents are playing that babysitter role. Not necessarily what they most want to do, but of course there's a spirit of we've got to help each other and help our family and move ahead. And
it's pretty good for the kids too to have that whole generational experience too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So on your website, you have a website, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. We're going to learn how to stay fresh.
I think fresh is a great word.
How to stay fresh. Okay, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome.
I'm Judith West, and you're watching Getting Your Money's Worth. Thanks for watching.